Hello everyone, Christine here with Powder Crafts with another Scrapping for Less design team project. So today I'll be using the stamp set here from Pink & Main. It's called Wild Thing. So I'm going to be making a background using the leaf stamps, and I'll stamp out all of these images and we'll see what we end up using. So I've got a piece of watercolor paper here, and I'm getting my little mat because I'm going to start with my background. So I'm taking each one of the leaves, there are 3 of them, and I'm using the Gina K Designs Amalgam ink. This is the black ink. I wasn't sure how long the ink would stay wet, so I've got my clear embossing powder there to put over the image before it dries, and doing it this way I didn't have any problems at all. So I'm just gonna stamp these all over and make an entire panel, and by the power of YouTube, here we are. I'm using the embossing powder because I am going to be using my Arteza Real Brush pens, and the little bit of texture that the embossing powder gives allows the ink to kind of just stay where you sort of want it to be. So that is why I'm using embossing powder for this. I'm also using clear because just in case I didn't, I don't know what the right word is to say, but you know how like you get embossing powder where you don't want it? Well, in case that happened, it would be clear and no one would notice. So anyway, here is my background. So now that that is all ready, I did give it a few minutes to cool. I am grabbing these Arteza Real Brush pens, and I've got about 5, 6 different greens. So for each one of the leaves, I'm just kind of randomly using 2 different greens and kind of blending them together. There's really no rhyme or reason. I'm just kind of grabbing a dark one, kind of then a little light one. I'm just trying to make these leaves probably about 2 tones, a light and a dark. Sometimes I just grab a dark and a dark, and you can't really tell on film that there's 2 colors there, but when you look at the card in person, you can tell. Some of these color combinations I tried to avoid a second time, and some of them I really loved and just tried using different ones, like putting the darker color on the outside or the inside. It was just a lot of fun. So I'm choosing to use this for coloring this background today because these are super easy to use. You just kind of lay the color down, they blend together. If you wanted a more watercolor look, you could use a water brush and lay down a little bit of color and use a water brush. I am just using the marker straight on. I'm not using a water brush for this. I wasn't really going for a watercolor look. I just wanted some easy coloring, and this was what I came up with that would be easy. So that is going to finish my background. So when I'm all done with that, I'm going to go ahead and put that aside to let it dry. And then I decided I'm going to do the same thing for each one of the images. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp them all out, put some embossing powder on them. Then I will heat set the embossing powder, and I'm going to go ahead and color those. Now this first set of stamps here, I did not realize I was putting white embossing powder on them. So you're going to see me come in again. I did not realize it was still filming at this point, so it will go out of focus a little bit. I guess that is a quote-unquote hazard of having 2 different embossing powders on your craft table. So it did take me a minute to realize, hey, why is this not darkening? Oh, darn it, I grabbed the white. Maybe those aren't the exact words I used, but you know what I mean. All right, so now that these are stamped out, I'm going to go ahead and put all of my embossing powder away while I give that a few minutes to dry. So again, I'm using the Arteza markers for coloring in these animals. I know sometimes I call them markers, sometimes I call them pens, but please just realize I'm talking about the same thing. I guess they're not technically markers, they're, I guess, a watercolor brush. Anyway, I'm getting off track. I like to use them when I want to do something fast and easy for coloring. Also, the way these stamps have like, there's like texture built in to the stamp, if that makes sense, meaning like there's dots for some shaded area. The faces have a lot of detail. So for things that are really detailed, I just find using this coloring medium works really well for me. And it is really easy. I'm kind of being messy with it because, unfortunately, I'm going to fussy cut these images. We all know how much I love to fussy cut. And as much as I say I don't like it, I've been finding I've been doing it a lot lately. But I was afraid with the way these images were created, my Scan and Cut would have a little bit of a hard time reading exactly where it needs to cut. As great as the machine is, sometimes some stamps just are hard for the machine to read. It could just be user error. I will absolutely say that it's my fault, so to speak, I guess you could say. But instead of taking a chance of my images being ruined because I did color them, I am going to just fussy cut them. So I do not show you that. I'm going to go ahead and now put the card together. I did cut a piece of vellum using this Stitch Scalloped oval die. I thought that'd be really fun to go ahead and put our Jeep with our animals on it. I did use some liquid glue for that, so I'm going to put that aside and let that dry. Just using some tape runner here to put down my front panel, and as I go to get the inside, my ATG runs out of tape. I try to use some of these spare ones I have, but they didn't have anything in them either. So go ahead and just put the white panel on the inside of this card, adding my little piece there to the center, and then trying to find a good place to put this sentiment. Then I was trying to like pick up the glued down piece, but once it's down, it is down. You're not getting it up with that Tombow Mono. So I just kind of tried to tuck it in there as best I could. Debated if I wanted to add some of these critters to the outside, decided against that. We're just going to add our little giraffe here to the inside. And that is it today, guys. That is the card. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more and you're not already, hit that subscribe button. But until next time, bye.